Internal policies are basically the policies that didn't really fit into any of the other categories, but they're important when talking about making government efficient and effective. So that's kind of the basis for all of these, as well as city worker improvement. I think we as a city need to do a better job of encouraging our workers for personal and professional growth, but we'll get to that here in a moment. For those of you following the Daniel Plan, I'll be following those points. As mayor, I want to develop a system where both the employees and department heads evaluate each other on a yearly basis. This will encourage goal setting and growth among all city employees. Basically, the way I see it working in the same way that when I worked at the state that we had to, that at the beginning of the year, the department head or the boss, if you will sit down with the worker and will set goals together. They will establish goals together, and that at the end of the year, that worker will be evaluated on those goals. How they accomplished those goals, what impeded them from accomplishing those goals, and ways in which they could have improved on those goals. Did they exceed the goals? It's a great way for us as a government to measure how we're doing as individuals, how growth is happening among our employees, as well as how as a city, as a city government, how are we growing? How are we doing? Are we improving and increasing our goals each year, or are we staying flat? Obviously, no one wants to stay flat, and so we're looking for growth every year from the past year. Furthermore, having that system where the employees feel like they can come to, or that they can evaluate their boss, evaluate the department heads, that's a very important asset for me as a mayor to be able to hear from the workers. How are their department heads doing? Are they being innovative? Are they timely? Are they communicating with their workers? Are they providing a good working environment, or is it stressful? Or, what are those factors? That's helpful for me as the mayor to be able to evaluate my department heads to figure out whether or not they're doing a good job or if changes need to be made. So that evaluation piece is, I think, really going to make our government a little bit more efficient. Now, to be fair, there are individuals that said, well, we've tried that, and, that didn't work, or for one reason or another. I don't really like the term "we've tried it," because every individual who tries something tries it in their own different way. And so I see an opportunity to be able to do this, and to do this in an effective way that opens a communication channel, not only between the worker and the department head, but also between the worker and the mayor. That's going to be critical. I'm going to rely on the words and the thoughts and the ideas of those city employees in setting goals for my department heads. So that'll be a great piece of improving the efficiency, as well as the tracking, if you will, of how our city government is doing. Second, as mayor, I'm going to work with the Board of Works to determine department head responsibilities based on forward-thinking approaches and innovative ideas. I really don't like doing things the way they've always been done. Please don't misunderstand this, that I don't respect the past, because I very much respect the past. But our economy, our world, our local government, the way in which economic development happens and community development happens here at the local level is changing every day. So I'm going to be looking for department heads who don't just do the same thing they've always done. The individuals who look forward into the future and prepare us for that future. The individuals who are innovative in the way in which they use taxpayer dollars, are innovative in the way in which they put forward projects to improve our community. The way in which we're going to determine who becomes department head and who gets those responsibilities will be an evaluation, will be an application and interview process that basically will be open to everybody. The application process will take as many applications as individuals who would like to apply for the position, individuals who think they're qualified for the position. And then from there, the Board of Works and I will weed those down to a certain number of individuals who we feel are qualified enough that we want to interview them, or are prepared enough for an interview. So after that interview, of course, we'll pick our department head. I don't want to sound presumptuous. I don't think I have this election won by any means or anything like that. But we have 2 months after, well, less than 2 months after the election by January 1st to get those department heads, the Board of Works, all the commissions and boards positions set up and managed. That's a very short time frame when you take out Thanksgiving and Christmas week. And so you need to be prepared. Any of us, all of us mayoral candidates need to be prepared for that next step, the day after Election Day, really. Number 3 is mayor. I want to work with the Board of Works and City Council to study cost saving and consolidation in order to maintain a balanced budget. It's critical to maintain a balanced budget, not only so we can pay our debts every year, but also that we can improve our incentive programs to bring in businesses, to improve the downtown, to improve our community, if you will. And so by keeping a balanced budget, we'll be able to do more of those things. Furthermore, I think there's ways in which we can cut cost and we can consolidate some services. That's going to be something that the Board of Works and the City Council and I are going to study, and we're going to take a look at it, and we're going to find ways in which our government can become more, you guessed it, efficient and effective with the dollars that we spend. I know that those dollars come directly out of your wallet, and we'll talk about this here in a second, but those dollars come directly out of your wallet and my wallet. And we need to be very critical with every dollar that comes in and how we are spending that dollar. Number 4 is mayor. I want to study and consider the vehicle take-home program or policy in a responsible manner and determine who should and should not be taking home vehicles. I also am going to work to cut gas consumption by all departments. When it comes to the vehicle take-home policy, you know and I know that there are some individuals that have vehicles taking home that there's no reason they need to take them home. And then there's other individuals who need to be able to get out of their house and get to an emergency situation right away. So I want to look at that in a responsible manner. And I think that takes both a logical as well as an emotional response. And so looking at that vehicle take-home policy, I think there's ways in which we can tweak it. But it's easy to throw stones at a glass house, being the one that's outside of the mayor's office right now. It's easy to throw stones and say, well, I'm going to do this, this, and this. It's much harder when you get in and have the full set of facts about every situation. And so I want to be responsible in the way in which we make that decision and not just be very brash about, well, no one gets a car or no one gets. I think it's important to make sure that we're not taking something away that could save lives, that could save property. So we need to be responsible in just determining who should take a car home. Number 5 is mayor. I want to be responsible with every taxpayer dollar regarding its use and efficiency. As I talked about earlier, those dollars are coming directly out of your wallet and out of your paycheck and out of your property. And basically, we need to be very critical in the way in which we use those dollars. If you want to look at the way in which my family looks at every dollar, you can go look at my car and how it's being eaten up by rust. The reason for that is because we're making sure that we're paying our bills, my student loans, things like that, before we buy a new car. That's the way I was raised. In our family, we were very careful about the dollars we used. I'm sure many of you were raised that same way, that you'd be very critical about how you use every dollar, so you make sure you pay your bills first and then do the things that you need to do after that. That's how we're going to run local government in Columbia City. As mayor, I'm going to encourage city employees to educate themselves and their departments on leadership as well as workplace safety. I have seen a lack of workplace safety, policies, if you will, in city government. I think there's a way in which we can be better at that. We can cut down on some healthcare costs if we make sure we push, fitness and we make sure that workers are being educated in workplace safety. That's one thing we're going to push forward. We're also going to push forward and help our city workers learn leadership skills. There are many very good leaders in our city, workers. There's other individuals that could use a little bit of growth in the leadership category. Again, I want our city workers to be able to be marketable when they go out and when they leave city employment. I want them to grow while they're in city employment. That's one of those ways we're going to be able to do that. Teach leadership, improve the workers' leadership and be able to improve their own personal and professional skills. Finally, and probably most importantly, I'm going to work as a full-time mayor, meaning I hold office hours Monday through Friday. We publish them on the website and elsewhere. I have an open door policy. Those types of things. I am the only candidate running this year that has promised to be a full-time mayor, have regular office hours for all 4 years. I think it's important because residents and citizens like to have their mayor accessible. That's one thing I heard in the primary, that was needed in the mayor's office. I think the mayor's job is a full-time job, not only to deal with, to take care of and address city residential issues, but also to aggressively recruit jobs, to manage our infrastructure and our utilities, to make sure that we're being efficient with our dollars, to help improve the communication between the city hall and our residents. Those are the key pieces of why I think it's important to have a full-time mayor. I hope, I plan to have a certain amount of hours set aside each week on different days for residents to come in and talk to me, just set aside specifically for residential purposes. I also hope to be able to maybe come into the office maybe one day a week early and leave one day late, so that individuals who work the 9 to 5 hours will be able to come in and meet with me for issues that they have. That is important. If there's one thing that I've been championing through the whole campaign, primary and general, it's that full-time mayor is needed. Many of you have voted for me because of that, and you understand where I'm coming from, and many of you I still have to convince about that. But I think it's necessary and it's important based on the critical times that we're at right now, the aggressive economic development opportunities that we have and things like that. So being forward and proactive with that, as well as all these other different approaches, is important, and I think these internal policies will help grow our government in efficiency and effectiveness and personal and professional growth of workers. I do want to make one more point, and that is that my job as mayor is to make sure, as the boss, is to make sure that our city workers feel like they can come to me and talk issues with me. It's important for me to help them with personal and professional growth. That doesn't mean we break the chain of command, but the mayor needs to be accessible to the city workers. We're all one big family. We really are. And we need to make sure that we're pushing forward in the same way and that we have the same goals and the same ideas in mind as we move Columbia City forward toward the future. Thanks for your time. This will be the last video before the election. I hope I can win over your vote November 8th. This election is very critically important for our future. For the next 4 years, whoever you elect as mayor is going to be leading our city in whatever direction they have set forward. I hope with this Daniel plan and with these videos, you've been able to see my direction and where I want to lead the city. Thank you for your time. BrianDanielForMayor@gmail.com if you have issues or questions about anything we've talked about. I hope I can win over your vote November 8th, and thank you.